Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining our August club meeting. We'll start with our usual club updates and then we'll move on to our main topic tonight. Carol, KP4MD, will be giving an overview of the KiwiSDR software-defined radio. So first, we'll start with Phil on our Treasury updates and membership report.
21 who have not paid for 2020. So we're in pretty good shape. And along with that, our treasury is currently sitting at a balance of $8,969.53. We've actually got 3 cents more than that, but I'm too lazy to fix it. And our repeater fund is $3,466.64 of that total. And that pretty much constitutes my report.
All right, thank you. And okay, and then Carol, do you have a website update for this month?
Sure, I'll give the report. The total page views of the n6na.org site increased over the past month from 2319 up to 2766. The peak number of page views was exactly on field day, which was June 27th. We had 245 visits to the website. The most active page, web page was the home page with 623 visits, then a 10-meter page with 344 visits, field day prep page with 270, magnetic loop project page 158, and then the field day page was 156. 50% of our visits came referred through Google, 31% came direct hits to n6na.org. And again, most of the activity was here from California, 1,731 page views from California, 78 from Texas, 60 from Virginia, and the rest from other states and countries. As far as our social media, our YouTube channel had 891 views, and we have 3 new subscribers on our YouTube channel. We have now an N6NA Discord chat server as well, which is currently set up and has, I believe, 12 current users. Our Facebook page has 398 followers, and we do have a discussion group there also with 55 members. And our Twitter page has 135 followers. So all of our web activities, outreach, and social media is going very strong. That's my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do we have any other items of interest or any other updates from anyone before we get started with our main topic?
Do we want to mention something about the next month being the homebrew?
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Next month we're going to do our homebrew contest. So we'll try and do it in the same kind of style that we did for Show Us Your Shack. So if you've been working on some projects and you want to show everyone what you've been working on and tell us a story about what you've been working on. And we're going to have some prizes as well, like we normally do. Phil, what were the prizes that we finalized?
What we're going to come up with, it's going to be as it has been the past few years. There's $100 in prize money. And the way we have distributed that in the past was $40 to our first place winner, $40 to our first place new ham winner, and $20 to our second place overall winner. Free money. One other thing I should mention is I'm looking for one more judge. I've got somebody that I've mentioned it to who would prefer not to judge, but will if we need him to. But if we have someone who would like to sit in a position of judging this homebrew thing, I'd be most helpful to have them volunteer. That pretty much covers my read on our homebrew night.
Do you have anyone who would like to volunteer? Or do you want to follow up afterwards? If we have someone who volunteers now, that'll make it easier.
I think Sylvia should. She's so comfortable.
I think Sylvia's gone to sleep.
I think she's out.
All right.
Was that a sign that she just sent my way?
We'll let her know when she wakes up that she's one of the judges, right?
All right. Well, if someone wants to volunteer, they can send an email to contact, and yeah, we can follow up afterwards. And I think it would be easier as well if people have got something they want to present, if they could let us know beforehand as well, so we can get a rough idea of how many people we've got to get through.
You know, we've had a great experience with this program. I've been most impressed with the quality of work that people do, the creativity of it all, and the spirit of willingness to share. So let's have another record turnout. It's a lot of fun as far as I'm concerned.
And we can do it in a couple of different formats. Like if you've got something that you can show on camera and hold it up, that will work. Or if you've got some screenshots of something or some photos, or if you want to put together like a short couple of slides, if you want to give a short presentation. And
should we have a full-blown video presentation with proper theme music, fireworks, dancing girls? I keep coming back to that theme, don't I?
Yeah. Is that what you're doing, Phil?
That's it. It's my life. I love it.
Well, this is for homebrew, right?
Yes,
Well, I have the mug.
I like that too.
For that.
all right, cool. All right, so that will be next month's meeting. Okay, all right. So Carol, should we hand it over to you for the
Hey, question.
Yeah, sure.
I got a question. This is Dave. Who do we send the photos to? My computer won't handle all the extra overhead of showing the slides at the same time, I don't think.
Okay, you can send them to me. That will work. If I put my email them to me at my email. If I put it in the chat window here, can you see the chat window, Dave?
Yeah, I have your email.
Yeah, and same for anyone else, I guess. Like if you got some photos or something that you'd rather I could share for you and facilitate, then we could do that. Email them to me at my email address there. Otherwise, if you can do a screen share like from your desktop, that works. We can do it that way. But either way works.
All right, another question. Have we talked anything about Christmas party yet?
We've discussed it. I guess it's probably unlikely that it's going to happen, but we could wait another month or so and then make a decision as we get closer. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably unlikely that we'll meet in person. But
Is this the Christmas party we're talking about?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that's up in the air, Dave. It's all up to the state whether or not restaurants can be open. At this point, there's an awful lot of restaurants that we're all quite fond of who are no longer restaurants. So we've got some concerns about whether or not Sam's will be alive at that point in time. Hopefully, there's no real need for concern there. And secondly, you know, the condition of this virus restriction controls all these decisions that we make. And we're not going to be close enough to that time frame until we get on a month or two down the road. So it's just too premature to make any kind of commitment at this point.
Okay, I was just wondering.
You're right. It'd be nice to know.
We'd all like to know.
yeah.
I'd like to get a haircut.
Oh, you too?
If anyone's got any suggestions or something we could do instead, we could do like a virtual dinner like we did on Field Day or something like that similar. If you all still want to get together anyway, we could do something like that. But we're open for suggestions and ideas.
That's something to think about between now and our November meeting or whenever, so we can let everybody know what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it too soon also to throw out the idea that November, we will be doing board elections, and if there's any changing of the guard, it's a good idea for people to start thinking about who goes in those slots. We usually start about now thinking about it. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, isn't it easier to pick people that aren't at the meeting and put them in an office slot?
Did it work for you?
Works for me.
Right. Who's not here?
About 120 folks aren't here.
Anyway, so amongst those of us who are enthusiastic, we need to, I think there's some changes of roster that we were anticipating, right? A couple of people that are going to be moving off.
Yes.
And that, so, and I think you were hoping to change your position in the next year too, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, I think it's probably getting close to time.
So anybody with bookkeeping skills, or at least a willingness to be diligent, Phil would like to retire at some point. So you can keep in mind that sort of thing. That's why I said heads up, we got to think about it for a while, figure out who really, you know, fills the bill. So anyhow, I thought it was important to, you know, make people aware.
Yeah, something to think about.
Bill, that's a 10-year position that you're in.
Now, wait a minute. I thought I signed on for 5.
Has it been 5 already?
You may have, but we signed you on for 10. And there's
What
no,
a fine guy you are, Paul.
there's no pension plan either.
You know, when I got married by a Superior Court judge, and he told me that he had given me a life sentence. I'm beginning to see how this system works.
Well, it's all in what you make of it. And that's for sure. It's a sentence or an opportunity, depending. So, but you've done a good job. I thought we're not in any hurry to get rid of you. You just are more in a hurry to get off the boat. That's all. And that's okay.
Well, you know, the Cayman Islands are getting tired of me throwing a lot of money into that bank account. And I figure
Where our 3 cents went.
Bill has probably the most important position in the club, so be careful when you select somebody to replace him. And Phil has to be the auditor for the next 5 years.
All right. Any other topics? Anything else before we move on? All right. Okay. All right. Carol, can I hand over to you for our main topic?
Very good. Well, very good evening to everyone. I was looking back here, and it looks like it's been several years since I've done any presentations here at the River City ARCS. And the last time I gave a presentation on software-defined radio was back in February of 2013. But so it was a good refresher for me to prepare for this. We're going to talk specifically about the KiwiSDR as a web software-defined radio. And this is a picture of the KiwiSDR. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment here, but I realize we have a lot of new hams here. So I just want to go over a little bit of the basics of, let's see, there I go. What a software-defined radio is and the history of software-defined radio. Software-defined radio is not really a very new technology. It's been around for a good 50 years or so. The military has been using it for at least that long. But the problem for amateur operators is that the cost was prohibitive for the type of technology that, the type of hardware that was required to implement it back then. Now with the large-scale integration and integrated circuits and all kinds of miniature surface mount types of wiring that we have now, it's finally come to a point where it's within the reach of radio amateurs. What I'm showing here on the screen is just a reference to an article from QEX, which is it's a publication by ARRL, which is it's actually more of a technical, one of the more technical publications of theirs. Back in July 2002, Gerald Youngblood, AC5OG, published this article, Software Defined Radio for the Masses, and it was a project which was the SDR 1000, which was the first time that any kind of HF transceiver was, a software defined transceiver was published. And eventually it was manufactured. And this was the basis that later led to the development and the manufacturing of the Flex radios. So this had its start back in 2002. It's a really nice article. If you get your hands on it, it's good to take a look at. What is behind software radio? The advances in software and hardware provide unattainable radio performance presently that previously was not attainable with hardware. And digital signal processing is incorporated into a lot of modern amateur radio equipment, but that doesn't mean that it's a software-defined radio. Some discrete radios that came out even as early as the 80s and 90s had some kind of digital signal processing in it, like the noise blankers, etc., noise reduction. Now, the software-defined radio is different from your typical standard hardware radio. It has several benefits to it. It's flexible. You can change or modify its functionality in the field just by changing the software. And it uses a minimal amount of hardware to perform the frequency selection and the digitization. The rest of the processing and the demodulation is carried out in software. So the modern software-defined radio consists of first an RF front end, which is the hardware that takes the radio waves from your antenna and converts it into an IQ stream, which is taking the signal and it's giving you two different streams. One is in phase with the signal that's coming in, and one is shifted by 90 degrees. And you can, with these two types of signals, you can process those and do any kind of demodulation for any kind of modulation you have, either amplitude modulation, frequency modulation, single sideband, whatever. It all can be done mathematically in software once you have those two different streams. It's just the original signal and the same signal just shifted by 90 degrees. You have an analog to digital converter that takes those streams, those audio streams, and it converts it into ones and zeros, all binary. And originally, it was done with a sound card, which we'll talk about a little later, because all computer sound cards are essentially a analog to digital converter. And originally, the original software-defined radios that we used had a separate personal computer, a PC, to actually do the processing. A lot of the new radios now, software-defined radios, have the CPU actually included inside the radio itself. What the RF front end does, as we said, is it converts the radio signal to an intermediate frequency, often down to 0 hertz, which is a direct conversion type receiver. And then it's sampled by the analog to digital converter, which is the ADC. And here's a little block diagram. Interesting here, it shows that there's a local oscillator in there that sends a signal into the mixer that mixes with the incoming RF signal. What they do with quadrature sampling is something that's called a Taylor detector. It takes that local oscillator, gives two different signals from the local oscillator separated by 90 degrees phase difference. And then you get from those two mixers in the Taylor detector, you'll get the I stream and the Q stream, which then feeds to the analog to digital converter. So that's just what I said there, quadrature detector. So what the ADC does is it accepts the INQ signal streams and it digitizes them by something called a fast Fourier transform, which I don't really need to go into detail. If you want to read about that, that's fine. But what it does essentially is it changes things from a time domain into a frequency domain in order to be able to process the signals. The first software-defined radios used a computer sound card for the analog to digital converter. And those software-defined radios were restricted in bandwidth to the sampling frequency limit of your computer sound card. So for example, there was a receiver about 20 years ago called a SoftRock 40, which used a computer sound card, and it could only give you a bandwidth on the waterfall of about 44 kilohertz tops. It was very limited by that. So you were feeding the streams into the left and right channel of your audio input to your computer sound card. And then the computer would then do the digitizing and all the processing inside. Later SDRs have dedicated ADCs, which have higher sampler rates, which allow you to process a greater bandwidth. Like the Flex 3000 can actually show you up to 192 kilohertz. The RTL SDR dongles can actually, they have a faster sampling rate up to 3.2 megahertz. The SDR Play, which a lot of us do have currently, can display up to 10 megahertz. And the KiwiSDR can actually display up to 32 megahertz. So the software program that processes these IQ streams does mathematical calculations on those numbers and gives us a demodulation. It can demodulate, like I said, CW, single sideband, AM, and FM. It does any required filtering, high pass filtering, low pass filtering. It can equalize the volume level of the sounds that are coming out and do signal enhancements such as noise reduction. Could be a notch filter, any kind of enhancement like that. And software, typical software were things like PowerSDR, HDSDR, SDR Radio, SDR Sharp, and several other programs down there. SDR Uno, which is one used with the SDR Play. This is just a screen capture of PowerSDR, which is the software that was used with the original Flex radios, and it's also used with the Apache Lab radios as well. HDSDR is one that's used very frequently with the RTL SDR dongles and several other types of software-defined radios. And this is SDR console. Simon Brown, the original author of the Ham Radio Deluxe, is currently working on this and distributes this free on the web as well. Different hardware historically, the first one that was used, I'm sorry, I just have to back that up there. SDR 100 was the original Flex transceiver, the SoftRock 40, and a number of other radios. Elecraft KX3 is also an SDR. The original Flex radios, 1500, the 3000, and the 5000. And the RTL SDR down at the bottom there in the FunCube dongle. And these are some more modern hardware software-defined radios: Red Pitaya, ADALM, Pluto, HackRF, ELAD, the Flex Radio 6000 series, AirSpy, SDR Play, and now the KiwiSDR. This was the Flex Radio. This is a discontinued unit. This was, it's a QRP, used to be the entry level. You can still get these secondhand, and they're pretty reasonable. They sell for like about $500 now. They put out about 5 watts on all bands from 160 meters up to 6 meters. These are very popular also as exciters for VHF, UHF converters and microwave transverters as well. There's the Elecraft KX3. And this is another, I don't know how popular this is anymore, but it's one of the older software-defined radios, the Wind Radio receivers. And there's a FunCube dongle. And this is the RTL SDR. This is the cheap $20 dongle that was very, very popular. This is the one that I actually presented back in 2013 and actually had a demonstration with a few of them in the club room, showing how these could receive. These work on VHF only from about 50 megahertz, and it can go up to about close to 2 gigahertz, I believe, on receive. So they don't do HF. If you wanted to do use these to receive HF, you needed to do connect a down converter, or there was also a way to go directly inside there and do a direct conversion that worked to some extent also for receiving HF. And that's the article in QST, January 2013, which was using this dongle and just showing how it was really easy to get such a cheap way to start to get your feet wet there in a software-defined radio. And here's the block diagram of the dongle, which essentially is just what we talked about. I'm not going to go over that again. At the time this dongle came out, it was a big deal because to get the same kind of performance from, for example, the ICOM R8500 was a old receiver that pretty much covered the same range as the dongle. It covered HF as well, but it went up to 2,000 megahertz. But to get a radio like that was manufactured, it would cost you nearly $2,000. And with the dongle, that little RTL SDR, you could do it the same for only $29 pretty much. And it had a lot more flexibility. This is a comparison of the KiwiSDR and the SDR Play. This is the current popular model of the SDR Play, which is the RSPGX. Just comparing some of the features of the two. They both cover the same modes, AM, FM, SSB, and CW. The frequency range is a bit different. The KiwiSDR is primarily, it's designed as an HF receiver. So it goes from about 10 kilohertz up to 30 megahertz. The SDR Play goes from 1 kilohertz, I believe, up to 2 gigahertz. If you wanted to use the Kiwi up higher frequencies, you have to use a down converter. The display bandwidth on the KiwiSDR is 30 megahertz. You can see the entire HF spectrum from practically 0 megahertz all the way up to 30 megahertz all on one time, on one waterfall. With the SDR Play, you only can do up to 10 megahertz, no more than that. The KiwiSDR is a standalone unit, which means you just have to plug a power supply into it, and you can connect it either by Wi-Fi or Ethernet to your network in your house. And it's receiving. It doesn't need to have a separate computer hooked up to it. So it could be completely standalone. The SDR Play has to be connected to a computer to work. Either you could connect it through a USB to a desktop PC or a laptop, or I believe there's also a way to connect it to a Raspberry Pi and have that work as a server on the on your network in the home. The KiwiSDR works through a web interface. It actually has an IP address that you can log into from any computer on your network, or you can also open it up so that people on the internet, World Wide Web, can also access your receiver and share it that way. The SDR Play does not have its own web interface. You have to access it through a software such as SDR Uno or one of those other programs on the computer that's running it. The KiwiSDR does have a GPS receiver, which has two functions. It sets the internal time clock precisely to the time within 1 second, and it also gives an extremely accurate frequency reference. So whatever frequency you're tuned to on this receiver, it's accurate to within 1 hertz. The SDR Play doesn't have that, but it does have provisions to take a signal from an external GPS reference as well. The prices are pretty comparable. KiwiSDR is $299, and the SDR Play is $200, but of course it won't work by itself. It needs to have a computer hooked to it. So what is a web SDR? A web SDR is specifically a software-defined radio that's connected to the internet, and it allows multiple listeners to listen and tune it simultaneously. So The technology allows listeners to tune independently and listen to different signals. So this is a lot better than the old classical web shortwave radios. That would be one radio that only one person could log in at one time and tune around and listen to it. So this allows this receiver to be shared by several different users. And the two websites that list the web SDRs are websdr.org, which was the original one that was been up there for several years. And this newer one is the KiwiSDR.com/public. And we're going to talk about the difference between those two. If you go to websdr.org, this is a website that was put up by PA3FWM. And he wrote software that allows people with different types of software-defined radios to share their radios on the web. So if you go there, you'll see this list that has probably over 100. Like here, this one said there was 176 servers that were active with 950 users. You can scroll down through here, going to that website, websdr.org, and you can click on any of these receivers, and it'll bring you to the interface for these receivers. And this is what it looks like. Some of you may recognize this. This is the Half Moon Bay receiver that many of us use. If you notice, this will bring up one band at a time. You can each band that shows here 160, 80 CW, 80 phone, 75 phone, 40 CW, 40 phone, 20 CW, 20 phone. Those are all individual receivers because each receiver can only receive one band. And but each receiver can take numerous users, up to, they say, even 90. So that's one of the really good things about this. Although the frequencies are restricted to that one segment of the band, it can handle a very large number of users. So this actually is the preferred way to listen. If you noted, you don't have to listen just to a single band because these receivers are a little bit more specialized for those particular bands. Now, if you go to the KiwiSDR.com, and you'll see that there's also, they also have a website here that lists Kiwi SDRs. And they have something around 400 different servers online. You can scroll, there's a little button up here in the upper left you can click on, and it'll actually show you this map. And this is the map of location of where all the Kiwi SDRs are around the world. And you can click on any one of these markers, and it'll bring up information about where this receiver is located and how many users are able to use it. There's a limited number of, that's one of the limitations of the Kiwi, is that the Kiwi receiver cannot handle as many receivers as the WebSDR receivers. So if you go on to KFS, this is the Half Moon Bay. There is also a Kiwi receiver over there, and this is what you'll get if you open that. You won't get just a single segment of a band. You'll open the receiver and you'll see the entire waterfall from 0 megahertz all the way up to 32 megahertz. And it's showing you the entire spectrum here. If you look over towards the left, you have that from 0 to 5 megahertz. There's a lot of activity in there, up to 10 megahertz. And if you look beyond the right-hand side of the, excuse me, the right-hand side of this waterfall, above 15 megahertz is really not much activity. And a good reason for that, it's just the ionosphere is not propagating signals up that high. So this is a good way to get a snapshot to see what propagation is like, what bands are worth even getting on to see if you're going to get any kind of contacts. Looking at this, you can imagine that 15 meters is going to be pretty dead. 10 meters, definitely. You just don't see any activity up there. There's nothing on the waterfall. So let's, again, I just want to do a little comparison between the KiwiSDR and the WebSDR. On the left side, you can see the KiwiSDR is a general coverage receiver. It actually can only handle up to 4 users max, no more than that. Whereas the WebSDR can actually handle 90 users per receiver. So the Kiwi is a single wideband receiver. It has fair sensitivity and fair overload protection. The WebSDR, though, has excellent sensitivity and excellent overload protection because each of those receivers is specially made for that particular band, and it's not going to be easily interfered with signals out of band. The latency on the Kiwi is about 2 seconds. That means for the time for you to get the audio out of the receiver, it's going to take about 2 seconds later than with the signal coming in through the antenna. So there's a little bit of a processing delay there, which is not much of a problem if you're using it for a QSO, if it's kind of slow and easygoing. But if you're doing rapid kind of contest calls and stuff where you need to do rapid turnover, that latency is going to be really too long. The WebSDR has a much shorter latency. It's on order of a fraction of a second. Both of these work with browsers. The KiwiSDR works with HTML5 browsers, but the WebSDR works with some more browsers, also with Internet Explorer, which I guess is being kind of phased out. And there is also a mobile app for the WebSDR. The KiwiSDR has some built-in extensions. These are functions inside the software of the KiwiSDR server itself that will decode CW, fax, radio teletype, slow scan TV, Whisper, which is a weak signal propagation reporter network, Digital Radio Mondiale, which is a digital form of HF shortwave broadcasting. It has other functions as an S-meter recorder, a scanner for the International Beacon Project, and TDOA. The time delay of arrival is a form of direction finding. This is a really interesting thing that the Kiwi does. You can get your Kiwi to coordinate with 1 or 2 other Kiwis that are on the internet and tune them into the same signal. And based on the time delay for signals arriving in each of the receivers, you can do a triangulation and get a pretty good idea of where a signal is being transmitted from on a map. So that's an interesting application you could do with the Kiwi. If you want to do any kind of digital mode decoding with the WebSDR, you need to use external hardware or external software. Let's see, next. Okay, when you buy the KiwiSDR, it comes as a kit, which you have to assemble. You have the KiwiSDR actually works on a single board computer, which is called a big BeagleBone, which is very similar to a Raspberry Pi. And then there's this shield that plugs into the BeagleBone. And that's actually the RF part of the radio. And then it has a 5-volt power supply. And when you put the whole kit together, this is what it looks like. You've got 2 SMA connectors. One of the SMA connectors is for your HF antenna, and the other one is for your GPS antenna. And it does come with a GPS antenna that you just have to locate up in a clear area that you can see the sky. You can also get an aluminum case, which is preferred. This extra shielding helps to prevent it being receiving any kind of RF interference external to the radio. So when you log on to your Kiwi SDR, you're going to get a startup screen that looks something like this. You see the waterfall, which is from 0 to 32 megahertz. You see some bands here, some bright bands, streaks going up and down the screen here. If you had a perfectly flat antenna as far as frequency response, you wouldn't see all those bands, but those particular bands appear because the antenna has resonances on those frequencies. So it actually is more sensitive. And those happen to wind up directly on the amateur bands, which is 80 meters, 40, 30, 20, 17, 15, and 10 meters. That's the reason you see those over there. This is a snapshot I took with my Kiwi connected to my antenna, which I use a 40-meter full wave horizontal loop up 20 feet. In the lower right-hand corner, you see this control panel, and this is where you actually control the KiwiSDR. Up in the upper left-hand corner, you have this little rectangle where you type in your the frequency you want to operate, and then below that you'll see some buttons. One that's lit up there is AM. This is the different types of modulation that you can choose: AM, synchronous AM, digital radio mondial, lowest sideband, upper sideband, CW, narrowband FM, and you can actually have the IQ output come directly out of the receiver with this. And then there's other buttons that are used for different functions. If you're ever on the Kiwi webpage and you want to know what the keyboard shortcuts are, you can just press the letter H and that'll bring up the keyboard shortcuts. And this again explains what the demodulator modes are I just talked about, and then the different extensions, which are built-in decoders. In addition to the waterfall, you can also get a spectrum display, which you see on top there, just by pressing the S key on the keyboard, and that actually shows the amplitude of the signals. It's what they call the spectrum scope or the pan adapter display. This is showing you one of the extensions, which is the fax extension. It was tuned into the Point Reyes Navy station. It was sending out a weather fax map. I just took this snapshot just about an hour ago, and that was on 4 megahertz. If you choose the extension, which is for fax, it brings up this little pop-up in the lower left-hand corner that allows you to select frequencies for fax stations, and it'll actually show you what the schedules are. So you can tune it in, and it'll pop up right on the frequency where you expect to see the fax. So, and then it starts decoding, and it decodes on the top half of the screen there. This is the Whisper decoder. This is the Whisper extension. And again, this was on 20 meters. This was done just about an hour ago too. I had it decoding some Whisper stations on 20 meters, and you could see in the pop-up window here in the lower left-hand corner the call signs of the stations that were decoded. And these decodes are uploaded to the WhisperNet server on the web as well. This is the Whisper Daemon project. I use my Kiwi in the Whisper Daemon project. The Whisper Daemon is another piece of software that could be used with the KiwiSDR. And what it does actually is it sets up the KiwiSDR to receive 8 different channels on 8 different frequencies, 8 different bands. And it feeds all of the whisper spots from those different bands into a decoder, and it uploads them every 2 minutes with each different whisper period. So it's a way to really upload a lot of spots. On the average, I upload about 5,000 to 6,000 spots every 24 hours with this project here. And it's just an example. This over the past 24 hours, these are all of the calls of stations that I've received using the KiwiSDR. So of the 8 different channels that the Kiwi is actually capable of receiving, 7 of them are reserved for this Whisper Daemon. And then there's 1 channel that I actually have open right now, and it's available on the internet. And I did send out that information with the announcement for this meeting for people that wanted to get on. They could log on and with the password get access to the receiver. Just want to give due recognition to the team of people who worked on this and made this possible. Andras Retzler, HA7ILM, was a creator of the Open Web RX software, which is a technology that it's completely open source. The technology behind all of the demodulators and the processing that made this receiver possible. And then John Siemens, ZLKF6VO, is the individual who actually developed the project and brought it to production. And he spent some time in New Zealand, as you could tell by the ZL in that call sign. And he said that's the reason he gave the name of this project Kiwi. Here are a number of resources. If you're interested, the entire website for about the KiwiSDR is KiwiSDR.com. There's links that go directly to the list of available Kiwi receivers on the web, which is the rx.kiwisdr.com. Map.kiwisdr.com brings you to that map that has all of the markers on the map of where the different receivers are. snr.kiwisdr.com is a list of the receivers, and it's comparing their noise levels at each one. The actual best receivers are the ones that have the least amount of local noise, because they're going to be more sensitive to the weaker stations, such as the Half Moon Bay is going to be a really good receiver. And there are a number of other sites that are excellent receivers for weaker signals. And they're all ranked as to which are the best receivers there. And then the bottom link there is the KiwiSDR forum for discussion. I am pretty new with this. I've only had my KiwiSDR now for 2 months, and I don't claim to be actually an expert on this, but I am willing to take any questions anybody has. And maybe we'll go ahead and try to do a little live demonstration as well. Are there any questions? I guess everybody's muted, so you want to put them in chat maybe.
Carol, Neil.
Yes.
My first question, I think you already answered. What kind of antenna would be best? And I think you showed the bands due to the antenna sensitivity. But the second one is, what about the sensitivity when you're doing transmitting? If you're using the ham band, is there any problems with the sensitivity of that receiver?
Okay, if you're transmitting, you certainly want to, you don't want to be having a high power transmitter on at the same time you have this receiver in the vicinity, also connected to an antenna, because you don't want to put a lot of RF into the front end. There is some protection there. I mean, if you're using a QRP radio, like 5 or 10 watts, it's not going to cause any problem. But if you're running several hundred watts, you can cause some damage to the front end. And there's going to be some desensing definitely from strong signals.
Bottom line, you use it during your monitoring mode. If you're going to operate the station, you better disconnect it.
Yeah, you can do that. Or if you're on a low power, you can keep the receiver connected. But expect you're going to be losing some sensitivity. It's going to be some desensing.
Thank you.
You had another question to begin with. Yeah, you said antennas.
Yeah, my question was what kind of antenna would be the best? But when you showed the bands, the blue bands, vertical, indicating that was the tuning of the antennas that it would affect the sensitivity. So. Okay,
yeah. If you ideally you want to use an antenna that's broadband, because you want to. You see, if you had a really sharp narrow band antenna like a magnetic loop, a tuned magnetic loop, it would only receive well on one frequency. That's not what you want. What you want is you can have one of the passive amplified loops, which are wide broadband receive antennas. You can have a long wire, a random long wire. You can use any kind of dipole. What you're going to see is with the dipole, you're going to have most sensitivity on the resonant frequency of the antenna, and then there's going to be a little decreased sensitivity elsewhere. There are also some amplified vertical antennas as well. These little probe antennas that have I'm not sure what they call those. But those are broadband also. But those are more sensitive also to local noise.
Yeah, you get rid of the directionality, but you get the local noise. Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
You mentioned that it was standalone, that you didn't need it to be connected to a computer to function, but what do you do for knowing what frequency you're on? I would imagine you need some kind of visual interface to.
Well, the visual interface is the web page that you're interacting with. You see, because
Okay.
yeah. Let me go ahead and see if I can connect to this. See how I can do that. Okay, I'm gonna drag this over here, and I'm gonna do another screen share.
Yeah, I think I figured out what you're saying. So you're using a computer to see, but the device handles all the frequency and software for processing radio signals standalone, rather than it having to go through the computer to be processed.
Yeah, the Kiwi does all the processing, and it's working even if you're not connected to it. This is. Are you seeing my screen right now?
I am.
Yes.
Okay, this is actually the GPS. This is displaying the all the different GPS satellites that it's locked onto right now.
Oh, cool.
So, and then this is the status page. This is the admin interface. You don't normally see this when you're logging on through the internet, but this is where I have access to all of the inner workings of this receiver. And it's showing right now that 7 of the channels are connected to the Whisper Demon, and this RX1 is available. I'm going to try to log on to RX1 here. This, there. Are you getting any sound?
Yes.
No.
It was.
Yes, I did. We did. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is what shows up here. It's I'm gonna put on time station, WWV. Select band here. Okay, what I did here is I went to the control panel here, and I selected WWV. It's tuned to the 10 megahertz WWV. Now I'm going to activate the, that's the pan adapter. I just press the S button on the keyboard, and here it shows the signal strength. I can pan out. I'm going to pan out by pressing the minus button here, and it's showing now more frequencies on either side.
Ah, okay.
Now, if I push this one button here that has the arrows that can max out here, and now again, I'm watching the entire spectrum from 0 to 32 megahertz.
Okay.
That seems to be really good to get an overall feeling for propagation at any moment.
It certainly does, yeah. Well, let's go down to the 40-meter ham band. I'm gonna scroll right down there. Okay, this is the 40-meter ham band. Okay, that's the FT8. Everybody's familiar with that. Yeah.
Let's see. Should be a little bit better. Radio, K1KW. Everything after storm.
Well,
this is K11 Kilo Whiskey, K1KW near Boston. Conducting equipment testing, standing by.
now that's not bad, Boston. I think didn't they just have a hurricane that go around there? Okay. Now you could also tune down to the broadcast, medium wave broadcast band. Okay, this is the medium wave broadcast band, and so it's got all the local AM radio stations here.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Well, hey, John, thank you. So I'll admit to this too, John, and thank you for the call. I remember on this show, I said, in a couple of times until someone corrected me, I said Greenwich Village. Remember that? And someone called that
I'm just
Greenwich Village.
panning out.
On the West Coast, that's back in New York. I said Greenwich, it's Greenwich.
Well, there you go. Just to give you an idea, you can go down to long wave down below the AM broadcast band. You can tune anywhere around. You can listen up to our net on 10 meters. It's awesome, and you can actually go anywhere. In oh, here's somebody. It looks like up in this frequency. I wonder what this is. Oh, it's 27 megahertz. I have somebody local on 27 megahertz transmitting. Let's see what that is. Sideband.
Take it off. The cheese is all nice and melted on the top. Oh, yeah. What kind of cheese do you use? I like pepper jack. We got a couple other kinds here.
See? That's 27415, which I believe is outside of the CB band. They're transmitting on upper sideband. You could see everything that's going on all across the, you know, and zoom in on anything, any kind of activity you see and tune it in. So you get a one whole picture there of the entire HF spectrum, which is awesome.
Carol,
Yes.
is this cell blocked?
Say again?
Is this blocked for cell phone frequencies?
This doesn't go up to, it's just strictly HF. It only goes up to 30 megahertz.
Oh,
Cell phone,
okay.
cell phone
Okay.
is up in UHF.
Yeah, okay, all right. I was thinking of something else. Mine has a wider frequency.
Yeah, let's see if we can maybe get, I think the fax is transmitting now. Yeah. I just went to the fax extension, and it looks like it's picking up a weather map right now. Starting to decode.
Is it when you go to extension, it automatically selects the proper frequencies and bandwidth?
Yeah, you can choose, it'll do the bandwidth and the correct demodulating mode, where you choose the frequency down in the box in the pop-up box in the lower left-hand corner. It's actually decoding a weather map. You can see it's starting to show. It's coming in on 4346 kilohertz. That's Point Reyes.
What you need to get just going then is just this receiver and an interface to a local network and an antenna.
Yeah, I'm just, I'm not directly connected to the Kiwi. The Kiwi is in another part of the house and it's on the antenna. I'm over here in my den, nowhere near the radios, and I'm just logged on my local network here and through the Ethernet, that's all.
You could be in your shack in Puerto Rico and do this.
Yes, could do that as well.
Cool.
Carol,
Yes.
is there noise reduction? I see, other than the signal, there's a lot of hash on either side that might be able to be cleaned up with some digital noise reduction.
There is a noise reduction factor that it doesn't work on fax. It works only when you're using it on voice. But that's one of the extensions. Now I'm looking here. Let's see, audio. Yeah, there's a noise blanker here that you can choose. I don't know if it shows anything. I don't know. I'm not even sure that it works in this mode.
I had to step away for a bit, so you might have answered this already, but did you figure out what your plan is for the issue you were having with the public facing part?
Oh, the issue I had with this, yeah, I have a password now. For anyone to access this receiver on the internet, they have to use a password. And I did send out the password in the email yesterday for just for our club members.
Oh, I'm not getting those emails then.
Oh, I'm gonna have to forward that to you. Yeah, so yeah, this will take another couple of minutes to completely decode that weather facts map, but you see how clear it is coming in.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. It's great for shortwave listening. It's also great for just monitoring the bands if you don't want to turn on your transceiver or anything like that. And if you're interested in making it available publicly for other people to listen in around through your receiver, you can do that. You can share it with club members as I'm doing. And, you know, in case you want to see how your receiver stacks up against mine here and my antenna, you can compare what you receive on your receiver to what you're getting through my receiver here. So
the other day when we were on a section, you indicated that I think on a 10-meter band we were on a match, and indicated that there was a Utah location that we could check our signal. And I did that, and I heard, is this basically what we were connecting to?
if you use the KiwiSDR, there is one in Utah as well. I think that's the one we were using at that time, yeah. But there's also the WebSDR, which would be on, I don't think the WebSDR had 10 meters. You must have been using the Kiwi.
Yeah, it's the one you recommended because the propagation was so good. And I think even Bob, Jeff Emmett said that he could hear him.
Okay, well, I think that's the extent of the presentation I had. Again, I'm going to leave my receiver on online for any club members that are interested in trying it out. And you see, while I'm using it, it's not accessible to anyone else. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect from it right now.
This is the one that you said that you can have up to 4 or just one person?
Well, this one, okay, there's, I'll show you the way this could be set up. The modes here, the classic mode is you can have up to 4 with the full 30 megahertz spectrum. Or you can set up to actually be for 8 users with only 2 that actually have the full spectrum display. And then the other 6 are only going to get little narrow audio spectrums. That's all they're going to get. My receiver is actually set up like that, but 7 of those receivers are dedicated to Whisper Demon. So there's only one user available otherwise, and that's the one that it only accommodates 1 at a time. And then there's another one that's more bandwidth that allows a wider audio spectrum, but only 3 users can get on. So again, this is, if you go to the KFS, which is the Half Moon Bay website, and they'll explain to you what the benefit is of using the KiwiSDR versus their standard WebSDR. And they're recommending for general ham use to use the WebSDR because it can accommodate a lot more users, because the receiver is actually more sensitive on those specific bands that it's set up for, and it's less susceptible to out-of-band desensing or interference. So the Kiwi is when you really need to have a big spectrum picture, or if you're looking for a frequency outside of the ham bands, that's where you would use the KiwiSDR. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing now, and I want to thank everybody for letting me do this presentation.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation.
You're very welcome.
Thanks, Carol. Great presentation. Thanks.
Well, next time, Carol, please come prepared. It was fantastic. Thank you.
Okay.
Very nice, Carol.
Yeah.
Do you have any more questions, Carol?
Hey, Carol, I've got a question.
Sure.
When you were showing the complete spectrum, this is Bob, there was looked like a lot of activity at 21 megahertz. Now, is that because of the sensitivity of the antenna?
Yeah, it's the sensitivity. What you're seeing there is a broad peak. And what it is, it's just It's the background noise from, you know, galactic noise or whatever.
Atmospheric noise.
Yeah, the atmospheric noise that's being picked up by the antenna. That's why it's showing a peak there.
And
If I had a perfectly flat response antenna, you would see you wouldn't see any peaks like that. You would just see flat waterfall, pretty much equal overall frequencies.
So this was because you were using your loop?
Yeah, the loop has actually it has peak frequency responses at its resonances.
Okay. Thank you.
Carol, this is Ken. You're showing that it connects to the internet, and then you look at it with your computer on web browser.
Yes.
Can you connect it directly to the radio, say if you're going out portable and want to set up out in, say, a city park or something where?
Yeah, you can, you don't need to have it connected to an internet, but it could be connected to a computer through yeah, you can wire it directly to a computer using an Ethernet cable. That is possible.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, because you still need to be able to see it.
Carol?
Yes?
This is David. KE70L. I guess the big thing is where do you buy them?
There's a number of places you can find online. One of them is called Seed, S-E-E-E-D. I believe some of them were sold on eBay as well. But if you do a Google search for KiwiSDR, you actually go to the KiwiSDR.com website, and they have a list of regional distributors. And you can check, I believe Amazon is out of stock, and Mauser is out of stock right now. But there are a number of suppliers that do have them.
Yeah, I'm at the site, but I didn't see it. But I'll keep looking. Thank you.
Okay.
You know, I think this kind of Zoom meetings are turning out to be more efficient for this kind of communication because more people can see it that could not physically go to the meeting. So there's something good coming out of it.
I would agree.
Yeah, but there's no coffee.
There is.
Yeah. Speak for yourself.
You can have water, gin, or vodka. It's your choice.
I think you better stick to the
coffee.
I can join the meeting from my backyard too, playing with my son.
Yep.
Welcome.
It's pretty good.
Yep.
Jojo, it's getting dark back there.
Hey there, Jojo.
Hi, Brian. Good to see you.
Great to
I
see
was
you.
actually late. I listened to the recording or watched the recording afterwards. Thank you.
All right. Any more questions or anything else anyone wants to bring up tonight?
Well, I just want to suggest if anybody who has looking for ideas for the homebrew contest, on the website n6na.org, there is a link to see some of the pictures from last year's homebrew contest entries, so you get an idea of the kind of stuff we're looking for. And we encourage everybody to, if they've done any kind of pet projects that they want to share, even for you know, a presentation of something like about 3, 4, 5 minutes or so, and so those are very welcome. Also, a reminder to everybody that our net is going to be tomorrow at 8 o'clock on 2 meters. That's 145.25, and a 10-meter net follows at 8:30 on 20.420.
You know, I should mention something at this point. This whole idea behind homebrew is looking at your approach to solving your problem. And I think that's one of the greatest functions and features of home brewing is you come up with an elegant solution to your own situation. It's one of those key areas that I tend to evaluate when looking at these projects. So, well, it may seem odd to you or something that you don't think anyone else is interested in. It's your unique genius that appeals to me, and I like to see a lot of those projects.
Yep. And sometimes it helps showing other people solutions that they maybe didn't think of when they're watching us present. So it's not all bad.
Absolutely.
And that, so.
Sylvia had a topic to bring up if you'd like to do it, Sylvia. All right, this weekend there's a hamvention, QSO today, and if you haven't heard about it, you can visit the ARRL website describing what's going on. A lot of people have signed up early for it. It's how hamventions are done now is by virtual Zoom.
It's linked on our webpage.
You need to sign up in advance, do you know?
You should. I'm trying to remember the guy's name that puts that together. He lives in Israel. He's the same guy that interviewed me for QSO today. Very creative young man and does some very interesting stuff. It ought to be pretty cool. Got a lot of speakers lined up.
Eric Guth.
Eric, that's right, Eric. Nice guy.
Yeah.
Is it this weekend?
This coming week? No, not this weekend.
8 and 9.
8th and 9th. Yeah, I guess it is this coming weekend. Yeah, 8th and 9th.
You have to sign up, but it's free.
Yeah.
It is free, but there's points for the various things that you do, and the door prizes are awarded on how you earn those points. So it helps you to be active.
Oh, actually showing up for how many seminars, that sort of thing, and interacting?
Yes.
Cool.
There's detail on the sign-up sheet about how all that plays out.
That's cool. Well, it does mean that a lot more people can go to a single seminar without crowding the room or sweating a lot.
As long as it doesn't interfere with golf for me and Bob.
Your choice.
Isn't that right, Bob?
And if you're interested in upgrading your license this weekend, the 7th, 8th, and 9th, the DEF CON, which is a hacker convention, which is every year this time of year in Las Vegas, they're doing their ham testing licensing remotely through Zoom. It's being sponsored by the Greater Los Angeles Radio Club. If you go to hamvillage.org, you can sign up, and it's $5.
Wow.
Do you get a token for the slot machine?
You get a link to pay $5 through PayPal, and then they'll send you an email letting you know when your slot is to join the Zoom call. And you have to have your video camera and up. It's done by all the new rules for remote testing.
Cool.
They are getting a lot of people signing up too. So if you want it, get in there early.
Yeah, my wife is signed up for the 15th with the remote exam. Same BE group.
Yeah, cool. So she is going to become a ham. Way to go.
Yes. She's here with me at the backyard, still playing with our son.
Go, Mom.
By the way, I just noticed that convention this weekend starts at 0100 Zulu, August 8th. So that's like 6 o'clock in the evening, Friday night. That's the keynote speaker. So I guess they're probably using European time for the start point of this activity. It's kind of an interesting start time.
Well, it gives them a few more hours to actually, for us to participate in a multitude of events anyway.
Exactly, yeah.
And that, Be nice if it's recorded in a way that would allow us to stream them after the fact, the ones that we couldn't be because they're simultaneous or they're just, you know, you want to see 12 and
They are archived.
yeah,
They are archived.
that'll be good because if there's something that you either liked and didn't, you know, need to see again or whatever, because if it's a learning situation, the second or third pass usually kind of reinforces it, not the first time. Just kind of piques your interest a lot of times.
According to their information, it says the event's going to be available on demand for 30 days afterward.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, they won't have people manning the booths or anything, but you can go check out the displays and look at the products.
Right.
For the next 30 days. Yeah.
And the exhibitor booths start at 1500 Zulu, which is what, about 8 o'clock in the morning? Our time, 7-hour difference.
They'll take your money anytime.
Yeah.
If they're going to have the, wonder if they're going to have the convention specials, you know, special prices.
Well, if they're manning the booth, maybe you can talk to them about that. I mean, it works when you're there.
Yeah, it says on the website you can interact with the exhibitors, so you can talk to them, video, audio, or text conferencing. So yeah, I guess they're trying to make the best of things, and if you want to talk to one of the vendors, you can interact with them as well, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. It's kind of nice.
I'm not quite sure how they're going to do this part, but it says walk through our virtual exhibit hall filled with popular amateur radio suppliers. So maybe they'll have like something where you can like click on the screen and walk down the hall. Check
Helmet cam.
Yeah.
Helmet cam.
That sounds worth checking that out. See how that works.
It'll be interesting. Well, all of this has been an adventure. I think we're all having an adventure together.
There we go.
Mark's got his virtual reality going.
He's checking out the vendors.
Yep. Yeah. So.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to leave you folks. It's been fun. Great job, Carol. Well done again, Kevin. And we'll do this again.
All right. So next month, come with your projects and tell us all about them. And we'll have prizes.
Money prizes.
We'll make it worth your while to have a good time.
Give us a heads up that you're doing it. So send an email to contact@n6na.org so we know you're going to be there. So we'll also get an idea how many are going to present.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to put a shout out there to all of our brand new members as well. Welcome aboard, and we're glad to have you.
Yes, indeed. The more the merrier.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll wrap up then and see you again either on the net or next month.
Okay, good night.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Carol.
Thank you, Carol.
See y'all.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.